So I'm currently away in France. I'm here for the next month. Um, I am rehearsing for a tour with an artist called Era. It's a challenging gig. It's really good fun. I'm here with Paul Turner, and I've got an amazing drummer called Steve Barney. And what I thought I'd do is talk about the route to getting this gig. I've done this tour probably. This is the third time I've toured, but I've done a couple of shows in Russia before this. But um, sort of as an add-on to my last videos, talking about becoming a professional musician, I thought I'd just tell a little story about the journey of where this gig came from. Okay, because I talk about it a lot. I think about it a lot, um, and this is just one of the journeys that I've had. Journey. I'm saying the word journey a lot lately, and I realise that might be a word that people don't like very much. But um, this gig kind of started out for me weirdly in 2002, right? So going back to 2002, it was my first time touring Australia, and I visited Australia and I was playing in Sydney. It was the first time I was over there with Jamiroquai. It was the first time there, and this was back in the day before iPhones. iPhones didn't exist, and I think it was just as MySpace was happening, or I'm not sure, can't remember. But I was staying in this hotel, and we had a day off. I think we were in Sydney for about a week and a half or something. We had a day off, and I went back into the hotel reception to pick up my key. I've just been out for the morning for some lunch or something. Went back to the hotel reception to pick up my key, and as I got to the reception, they said, "Oh, Mr. Harris, you've got a message." Um, Someone had called the hotel and left a message, and it was someone's name and a phone number. Can you please call this? It was for an A&R person over in Sydney. So I went to my room. I called using the hotel phone, um, this number, and it was an A&R person called Georgie McAvenna, who I haven't seen since, but she had found out that I was in town. I was in Sydney, and I called her, and she was inquiring whether I was available to do a recording session whilst I was in Sydney. So I said yes. Right? I always say yes to sessions, as long as as long as it sounds interesting. Um, so was that available? I said yeah, but I don't have my equipment. All I've got is my guitar. I've just had my guitar in the room. This is obviously 2002. This was pre um, Kemper and pre Quad Cortex. And, it was a very different time. So I got the details of the session. The next day, I turned up, got a cab, turned up to the studio. I was told it was for a couple of guys, um, just wanted to hire me to play on a couple of songs. So I turned up, and there were these two young dudes um, in the studio. Uh, One was called Nick, and the other one was called Pete. So kind of, met them, hung out a bit, and then I explained that all I had was my guitar, and I assumed that they had amps and stuff there, but what they had was a load of pedals. So I just was kind of doing this DI thing and plugged into a load of pedals that they had, and they just started playing me some tracks, and I just started noodling around, and they were basically capturing me just vibing around using the pedals, and I played on loads of tracks for them, probably about six tracks, I think. Anyway, it turned out that these guys were at the time an outfit in Sydney called Panau, which is spelled Pnau. One of the guys was a guy called Nick Littlemore, and I can't remember Pete's surname, but I played on a bunch of tunes for them back in 2002. Um, they were for now it was sort of a dance music type thing. It was really interesting stuff, really cool. Jump forward a few years, I'm back in the UK, and I get another call. Uh, Nick Littlemore, one of the guys, was in London doing some work. Was up for doing some more recording, so I went to a studio in London, and this kind of thing happened a few times, right? Um, Over the years, I just would get calls, go to a studio, play on a few things, and it turned out that they kind of, I'm not sure how it worked, but Nick Purnell still carried on, I think, I'm not sure. But then another band was formed called Empire of the Sun, and that's Nick is, you know, one of the members and producer, I think, of Empire of the Sun. I'm not quite sure, don't quote me on that, but who I love. Empire of the Sun are great. Um, So that's what it became, Empire of the Sun, and they had some quite a bit of success, quite a few hits. Um, I then got another call one day, and they were kind of based in London. They were doing a lot of work in London, so I got a call. Are you available for a session? Yeah, it was an acoustic guitar session, and I ended up playing on this song. Um, all it was a piano. I had to put some acoustic guitar along to a piano. And it took a while because the piano was kind of moving, and um, I had to sort of play along to the piano. And at the very last minute, and this was for the same guy, Pete and Nick, and I will get to the end of this story soon, I promise. Um, I was there a couple of hours, played on this track, acoustic guitar piano, and right at the last bit of the session, they unmuted the vocal, and it was for Elton John. It was a track for Elton John. They didn't tell me that at the time. I don't know whether they didn't want to freak me out, but for now, and I'm not sure whether Empire of the Sun, but they had sort of things dealings with Elton John's label. And I definitely know that Panau did a remix album of Elton John songs. They're very talented dudes, very talented. Jump forward a couple more years, I get a phone call from an A&R person from Universal. And this was probably, I'm thinking it's about 13 years ago now. Are you available for a session next week? Nick Littlemore, who's one of the guys from Panel, is producing for the artist Mika. So, yeah, of course I am. So I went into Metropolis Studios, and I was only going to do probably 2 or 3 songs. I ended up doing, I think, around 14 songs in 2 days um, on this Mika album, which was great. Mika was a really talented guy, but Nick Littlemore was producing Mika. So that's from 2002 all the way up to 13 years ago. I can't even do the math in my head, but I did kind of a lot of work for this guy. Anyway, the engineer on that session at Metropolis Studios was a guy called Andy Strange. Great name. What a name. Andy Strange. Awesome. So I did the Mika session. Maybe 2 weeks later, I'm at home. I get a phone call from this guy, Andy Strange, saying, nice to meet me, blah, blah, blah. There are some possible gigs in Russia for an artist called Eric Levy, who is Era. That's who I'm with now over in France. Would I be up for doing some gigs? This artist had made a record, and he'd had Robbie McIntosh play guitar. I don't know if anyone doesn't know Robbie. Robbie is an incredible guitar player. Um, he played on this record for Era, but wasn't available for the live shows. They had some shows over in Russia. So I said, Yeah, absolutely. If you know, anything that Robbie McIntosh is involved in, I'd love to do it. So I agreed to do it. I found out that the band, um, probably a couple of days before, the rhythm section for the band, I was learning the stuff. I travelled over to Paris for the rehearsals, but the band was actually um, Lee Sklar on bass. So I got to play with the amazing Lee Sklar, um, legendary Lee Sklar, and uh, Carl Brazil on drums. So that's how I got this gig. That was probably about 12 years ago. Yeah, probably around 12 years ago. Um, and from that, I then got to go to Russia a few times with it. But later on, I ended up traveling to LA to make an album with Carl Brazil and um, Lee Sklar at Eastern, is it Western Recordings? I don't know what it's called. I think it's Western, Eastern, I'm not sure. It used to be Cello, but I forget. So I got to make an album for a couple of days for these two other completely different Australian guys. Um, they were doing their own album, and it turns out that uh, I did probably 4 days recording with them, and at the end of it, I was just finishing up. I'd done 4 days. At the end of it, they said, "Oh, are you available tomorrow to do some recording? Because we're making a record for an artist here, and want to know if you're available to do a couple of guitar tracks for this guy." And so I was like, "Yeah, okay. Who is it?" And it turns out, it sounds like I'm really name dropping. I'm not name dropping. It just is what happened. It was for Robbie Williams. So I ended up going to Robbie Williams's place and doing a couple of tracks for him there. And the reason I'm telling this story is, and I kind of, you know, I kind of tag it onto the last thing. In that that's why it's so important to kind of keep your keep your eyes open for opportunities. You know, if I'd have picked up that message in the hotel in Australia in 2002 and hadn't called that person to find out what was going on and said yes, um, all of the other opportunities that happened after that would not have happened. They wouldn't have been there. So that's perhaps why I'm kind of telling this story a little bit. I'm sorry if I've bored anyone, but um, that's kind of, you know, a few of those happening in your life is a good thing. That's why I always sort of think to myself, keep my radar up for things that could happen, you know, exciting things that could happen. Yes, some of them come to nothing, and some of them come to amazing things. But you know, I'm over here in France, getting to play some really interesting, challenging music. You know, it's very different to what I do in other things that I do. It's kind of based on classical music. Um, I'm using a lot of 80s style guitar sounds, you know. But yeah, uh, I like doing a variation of work. It's really good for that. So yeah, that's what I'm telling the story. What I'm going to do is cut away now and show you a bit of the studio. But thanks for watching and take care. See you soon. So I'm here in Paris at a place called La Sienne Musicale. It's like a rehearsal room, rehearsing for the artist Era. Um, just last day here, I think. Yes, our last day here. We finished. We started at 9 a.m. You can hear the singers rehearsing in the background there. Mr. Steve Barney and Yes. Nicholas, Hello, yes. the engine room of the tour. Everyone drums. And this is Nicholas's rig. You don't mind me filming your percussion? Yes. Is it okay to film your percussion rig? To what? To film your percussion rig. Yeah. Mine. For YouTube. It's not yours. It's yours. He's a genius behind there. Last rehearsal here today. And it's going very slowly. It's going very slowly. We have because it's like a big orchestral gig without an orchestra. We have a lot of stuff running on Pro Tools, which I always think should be called slow tools because it just slows down the whole process. But yeah, it's not fun. We have Meek.
Hello.
Here.
Hello.
Meek is
I'm the
one of
cameraman,
most-
actually. I
You're the camera.
wanted to make
You're not taking the camera.
No, I wanted to make something.
Hi, I'm going to say hi. This is Ekaterina and Gabrielle.
I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah,
Hi.
last day.
Yeah.
Rehearsing today.
It's my last day.
No, we're all fired. I think after today we're all fired.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Actually, life can be worse.
life could be worse, but yeah, it's yeah, well, yeah, it's going slowly, but we're nearly there. Got a couple of days production rehearsal after this. This is my world, which is a bit scruffy. Sorry, I'm just throwing the camera around here. I have the trusty quad cortex and the trusty backup. There's some amps here that are doing absolutely nothing. I've got my guitar. It's a very small rig, and then I have a Takamine acoustic that I'm playing for one song, which is actually pretty cool. It's a nice sounding guitar. I've been using that guitar whenever I do this tour. That guitar is always with me. They hire it in for me here when I come to France, and I only play it on one song, but it's really cool. Yeah, but yeah, it's a lovely room that we're in. As you can see. Sorry for the throwing the camera around. There's the monitor desk. There's Flo, who's been taking care of us, and Pauline. Yeah.